I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. I call this meeting of the Town of Plattsburgh Town Board to order for December 3rd, 2012. Get a roll call, please.
Bernard Bassett.
Here.
Thomas Wood. Martin Mannix.
Present.
Paul Lemoy.
Here.
Gerard Renadette.
Here.
James Coffey.
Here.
Resolution 327, approving the minutes of the previous meeting.
Resolved that the minutes of November 19th and November 22nd, 2012 be approved and the reading of the minutes be dispensed with.
Have a motion. Mr. Wood, second.
Second.
Mr. Renadette. Any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Martin Mannix.
Yes.
Paul Lemoy.
Yes.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
Bernard Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. This is the portion of our meeting where we invite anyone who would like to address the town board to do so. Just ask you to state your name and your address and try to limit your comments to 5 minutes. And when there isn't, we move along. And maybe everybody knows tonight the Giants are playing the Redskins. It's a big game. Have a couple of things that I want to share with you all. I guess first is, if you pass one of these down, kind of hot off the press. I think the ink is dry. We'll give Danielle one for the record. There's been a lot of conversation about reserves and surplus, and I made some comments a while back that I wasn't aware we had cash around in the numbers that we saw. And I've spent quite a bit of time with Pat, our finance manager. We've had some discussion about accounting and terminology and the AUD. And I put this report together for you. I think one thing that's really important is we use similar language, so we're identifying information correctly. Cash flow and cash surplus. And we spent a little time talking about what a cash surplus is, what cash flow is, and I know we have as well and individually, and maybe this will be helpful. I would also preface with this is a bit of a works in process, but I wanted to share what we have. You'll see on the second page, Pat broke the 2011. Remember, this is December 31, 2011. He broke the cash that was noted in the report down into the various accounts and how much was in each of those accounts. So we do get a total of over $6 million, which is a nice number. But let me go back to my notes. The attached report identifies the source of cash in specific accounts noted by our AUD at the end of 2011. This report identifies the reconciled cash balances that were on hand in each fund at the end of the year. Cash is needed to pay for day-to-day operations such as payroll, claims, health insurance, retirement, debt service, etc. A well-managed town will have sufficient cash on hand to fund day-to-day operations and to responsibly manage unforeseen expenses such as equipment failure, system breaks, weather-related damages, etc. The board and management are responsible for determining a reasonable amount of cash to maintain in each fund based on anticipated cash receipts and cash disbursements. The board is also responsible for determining if reserves should be established to finance future expenses such as capital improvement or equipment purchases. Now, I'm going to deviate just for a second and again say take your time to, because I'm still working with this myself, to sort out 3 categories. One being this cash flow that I'll continue to talk about as what we have in the accounts and the checkbooks to meet our needs in excess of what we budgeted to spend, but in anticipation of things that happen as they do. Next, for the purposes of this document anyway, would be a cash surplus, which would be money that is our savings, that we are keeping for, and this is the 10% amount that comptroller says is healthy for the things that happen. We've seen everything from bridges go down that, you know, there's no money for, but we don't anticipate. That would be a cash surplus. Or you might want to create a cash reserve that we targeted for a reoccurring fund, that we know that day's coming. And as I went through this, I thought of Tom, who, as long as I've been here, has always argued and lobbied that we anticipate the need for the purchase of heavy equipment, like snowplows. We know every 2 years we're going to have to get one of these things, and it's going to cost us a couple $100,000 to $250,000. Why aren't we prepared? Because when we aren't, you borrow money, you pay to borrow money. And I totally agree with him. That would be, in my language anyway, a cash reserve that is encumbered for that purpose, it's targeted for that purpose, and there are no options, as opposed to a cash surplus that would be funds that are savings, but they're going to be available if we have a need, with board approval, of course. Back to my little script here. It should be noted that there are laws that restrict the transfer of cash from one fund to another. I think you're all aware of that. For example, the general fund can transfer funds to the highway fund in order to fund day-to-day operations. However, the highway fund cannot transfer funds to the general. Additionally, the water and sewer funds cannot transfer cash to the general or highway funds. As noted, the cash balances are not always transferable, and in some cases, such as capital projects, are restricted to expenditures related to the specific capital project. Concern as I looked at these, our general and highway accounts, I believe, are dangerously low and do not have sufficient cash available to finance day-to-day operations. We pretty well run on a day-to-day basis, and if something large happens, we deal with it. And this is why when we need a snowplow, we find ourselves, you know, having to come up with a debt-related plan in order to do that. We don't build that into the system, and we should. The lack of cash could result in the town's inability to pay bills on time, incur finance charges, or the necessity to incur debt in order to finance day-to-day operations. All scenarios are not a good option. Now, in my mind, debt for those needs is not good debt. There are times when we may get a ban and turn it into a bond to do a long-term capital project. As we did with paving, when we saw asphalt prices, you know, going up, we decided interest rates were terribly low. Let's do that work in advance and save the cost of doing it in the coming year. So that, you know, the economists, I think, would also argue about good debt and bad debt. But I think day-to-day operations, you shouldn't borrow. You know, in our homes, if you get a broken window from the kids playing ball, you shouldn't have to whip out the credit card to pay for the window. You should have enough money in your checkbook. You can go get a window and put it in and not have, you know, a debt situation on that. And that's what I mean by general and highway being way too low. The noted cash totals over $6 million, which is similar to the funds a family may have in their checkbook and wallets at the end of the month. I mentioned that, I think, last time. Those funds may be in anticipation, though, of a mortgage payment, groceries, or other payments in household or medical needs. It's not the same as funds that would be in long-term savings and money set aside for retirement or an unanticipated major expense. It would be tempting to interpret what is in reality over $3.7 million in water and sewer as money available to pay down debt or invest in needed infrastructure upgrades. We discussed that at some length today, and we could allocate those funds that way. But then you need a lift station. It could get down to the year-to-year kinds of needs we have in operation and maintenance. The money's not there, so now you have to get into a debt situation, which I don't think would be healthy. It would be tempting, and it is tempting, to interpret that money as available, but it truly, I don't think, should be. There may be a short-term benefit to do that, but because this is cash flow, not cash surplus, it would simply make for reckless budgeting and risky long-term planning. What I think we need to do, and again, I'm going to lean on Pat to do this for us, once he gets more time to study this cash flow and how these accounts have fared over the years, and we've looked at that a bit in water sewer, we need to determine, are we leaving an amount that is in excess of what should be there, and we maybe should free it for a cash surplus or use it in other ways. Things like the lighting district, I would expect the amount of cash we need in cash flow is much smaller, because what are the outstanding liabilities? And you get a nice storm, you've got to throw some more poles up and replace, you have an insurance claim, you do the work. It's a different number than when you compare it to the, I don't know what it is, the hundreds of millions of dollars. I know, Marty, you talked about that recently, that we have in water sewer. It's a totally different situation. So the cash flow has got to match the potential liabilities, and that's something we're going to keep working on to make sure we're doing that correctly. The good news is that we have been able to pay our bills, and other than general and highway, we have some cash flow to manage our annual needs, barring any catastrophic failure. It would be very difficult to find a successful business that was spending all of its cash to manage daily needs with no cash flow or reserves and investments for future unanticipated needs. A lack of both cash flow and surplus has caused financial failure for more than one family and many businesses in Wall Street. We don't want to be deficit spending. And we don't want to be hoarding money. I don't mean to imply that either. As you may recall, one of the tasks of our new finance manager is to improve the management of our cash flow, develop investment strategies, monitor purchases, and audit our internal accounts. He will guide us to create a strategy to initiate cash surplus accounts while developing a fiscal plan to invest in our aging infrastructure. This will not be accomplished immediately and will take a period of time to develop a financial program for solvency and sustainability. Many work sessions, I think we've talked about sustainability. How we've got a plan that'll keep things going. Jim often has that conversation with me when we look at the potential liability, especially water sewer. Are we able to manage it? Hurricane Irene brought a lot of that concern to many municipalities when they weren't able to repair the catastrophic losses without debt and certainly without help from FEMA. So part of why I wanted to share this, and we haven't had, and it's ongoing, it's evolving. I think we all agree why we've made some changes in budgeting and the budget office, but this will be our focus as we continue to plan and create a plan for future financial sustainability. So I think you'll find the chart somewhat interesting. And just for the record, I guess, when I really rubbed my nose in these accounts and saw at the end of 2011 we had $458 in the highway department, that's a little bit low. Now, it's not that way every year. It's going to depend on what the expenses were, what unforeseen issues came up. But that's the other piece that we need to really break down and look at now. What did highway look like for the past 5 years, 10 years? Is there a trend? Is this the trend? If it is, it's too low. Or is this an anomaly? And I'll keep getting those, that information to you so you've got it as well. But I wanted to be sure and share that. And the other thing I found interesting today, and I know if I don't get it to you, it'll probably never happen. I believe it's generic. Herb Carpenter, who publishes the strictly business magazine. In fact, I will be participating in this year's forum. I think it's Wednesday morning. Herb has been, I've been involved in the forums for a few years. He's been very concerned about what's going on in the local economy as well. And as you'll see when you read through this, he's reacted to some of the newer news. But in Herb's chart, he graphed out, did a little research, and he found national retail sales over a 5-year period. And retail sales haven't been good. There are a lot of issues with that, of course. But in 2008, you can see where these were and what happened in 9. 2010 simply gets back to about where 2008 was. But look at the trend. And, you know, I don't think Herb Carpenter is saying, oh boy, we're out of the woods, happy days again. Neither is Bertie Bassett. But it's important that we also identify, you know, where it's going as much as where we are and where we've been. And we'll start doing some very similar things. And I think we'll find very similar patterns. This has been an economic crisis. But it's important for us as we plan and budget to know where it's going, to know if rates are going to be changing, and so on. So we're going to take a tight look, and again, I wanted to be pretty conscious of things we've never done before that we're going to be able to do because we have more expertise working for us and able to you know, do economic analysis in ways that wasn't available unless we paid external consultants. So anyway, there it is. Digest it, think about it. We can talk about that more in work session if you'd like, and I'll try to keep things coming your way. Resolution 328, Abstract 12A.
Resolved that the abstract of audited claims number 12A-12, 2618 through 2689 for $105,097.33, abstract 12A-12, 492 through 504 prepays for the amount of $369,515.86 be received as reviewed by the audit committee and the supervisor is hereby authorized to pay said abstracts.
I have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Lemoyne, second.
Second.
Mr. Renaudet, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Martin Mannix.
Yes.
Paul Lemoyne.
Yes.
Gerard Renaudet.
Yes.
Bernard Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 329, Building Maintenance and Safety Committee Monthly Report.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from Art Rowe, Building Maintenance Supervisor, for the month of November 2012.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Woods, second. Mr. Mannix, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Martin Mannix.
Yes.
Paul Lemoyne.
Yes.
Gerard Renaudet.
Yes.
Bernard Bassett.
Yes, that resolution carries. Resolution 330, Dog Control Officer's Monthly Report.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from David Utek, Dog Control Officer for the month of November 2012.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Renaudet, second.
Second.
Mr. Mannix, any discussion? I just want to note that in his report he talks about receiving calls with concerns about coyotes in the Morrisonville area. We had a concern about that, I think, last spring, really early. And a lot of small mammals, small dogs, cats that came up missing. You know, if anyone, you know, you hear someone talks about that, let us know. We need to let Dave know so he can begin to kind of target if there's an area that's a problem and work with DC, especially with rabies that also seems to have surfaced a little bit in the area. Anyone have any other thoughts, concerns? Just want to make sure we make that public.
Well, they're not just confined to that area.
I don't think so.
They're behind my house.
If we don't let Dave know, though, he's not going to know, you know, and begin to track some of this. A roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Martin Mannix.
Yes.
Paul Lemoy.
Yes.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
Bernard Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 334, JCEO Services and Financial Assistance Agreement for 2012.
What happened to 331, 332?
Well, there you go.
We just did 330.
Jumbo clip. Okay, let's go backwards a little. 331, Planning Department Monthly Report.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from Phil Von Bargen, Planning and Engineering Department Head, for the month of December 2012.
A motion.
So moved.
Mr. Wood, second.
Second.
Mr. Lemoy, any discussion? I should also note, we are trying to get Phil with the code zoning update at a work session. I'd like to see it as soon as Monday, this coming Monday. We really need to get that passed in this calendar year. It's, it found itself on a back burner, and just anticipate that. Anything else on the report?
We'll be discussing it, that won't be the actual resolution.
Well, we should be passing it in, you know, a regular public meeting like these. It still needs to be done in December.
So next Monday, we'll have the report.
And then pass it hopefully, or
Go
bring it
over
to
with
the
us
board
and
on,
then the next,
right, the 19th, 2 weeks from tonight.
okay.
If he doesn't get that done for some reason, as you know, Trevor's out, a new father. And you may have heard Steve is not a new father, but a father for the second time. So both of those young men are doing their family duty for a few days with their new families. So it's a little more pressure, but that's how it should work, Tom. The worst scenario is, you know, if we don't get it in the work session until the 19th, now we're all being squeezed. But it should be passed here, and that's our plan.
It would be the workshop, our next regular meeting would be the 17th. You're looking at.
Oh, it's in November, okay, yep, I did.
On the 17th. And then we have a meeting on, our final shot at it in 2012 would be, we have a final meeting on the 27th, I believe.
I don't know offhand which day we move that to. but
Thursday the 27th.
Yeah.
I'm confident we're not meeting on Christmas Eve. Or New Year's Eve, that's right. So anyway, that's a coming attraction, and that's what's going on in those two departments. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Martin Mannix.
Yes.
Paul Lemoy.
Yes.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
Bernard Bassett.
Yes, resolution passes. Resolution 332, Parks and Recreation Department's monthly report.
Resolved to receive and place on file for Melanie DeFayette, Recreation and Youth Services Director, for the month of November 2012.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Woods, second.
Second.
Mr. Mannix, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Martin Mannix.
Yes.
Paul Lemoy.
Yes.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
Bernard Bassett.
Yes, resolution passes. Now, resolution 333, tax receivers annual school tax report.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from Jackie Blue, tax receiver for the school year 2012 through 2013.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second.
Second.
Mr. Lemoy, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Martin Mannix.
Yes.
Paul Lemoy.
Yes.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
Bernard Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Now, resolution 334, JCEO Services and Financial Assistance Agreement for 2012-2013.
Whereas the town board of the town of Plattsburgh is in receipt of the 2012-2013 annual agreement between the town of Plattsburgh and the Joint Council for Economic Opportunity, JCEO, of Plattsburgh and Clinton County Incorporated, which states the services and financial assistance rendered by both parties for the operation of the community outreach program in the town of Plattsburgh for the period commencing December 1st, 2012 and ending November 30th, 2013. And whereas a request was received and the town board has given consideration to the request that the town of Plattsburgh's contribution for the outreach program be $18,920, Therefore, be it resolved that the town board does hereby authorize the supervisor to sign and execute said agreement upon the approval by the town attorney, and payment be made payable from the town of Plattsburgh general fund in the amount of $18,920, and it is further resolved that an executed copy of this agreement be returned to JCEO for their files, and that the youth director and finance manager also be given a copy.
I have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Mannix, second.
Second.
Mr. Renadin, any discussion? We discussed this one at some length with Bruce. Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Martin Mannix,
Yes.
Paul Lemoyne,
Yes.
Gerard Renadette,
Yes.
Bernard Bassett.
Yes, that resolution carries. Resolution 335, authorization to purchase two-way radio equipment.
Whereas Resolution 012-320 authorized the standardization of two-way radios mandated from the FCC for narrow banding, and whereas Motorola has submitted documentation stating Wells Communication is an authorized local certified distributor for Motorola and a supplier of Motorola products in upstate New York and Vermont market area. Therefore, be it resolved, the town board approves the purchase as requested, that the building maintenance supervisor is hereby authorized to make said purchase under the state contract in the amount of $15,742.25, and be it further resolved that payment be made payable from the 2012 general account A1620.4100, and that a copy of this resolution be given to the building maintenance department and finance manager.
Motion.
So moved.
Mr. Lemoy, second.
Second.
Mr. Mannix, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Martin Mannix,
Yes.
Paul Lemoyne,
Yes.
Gerard Renadette,
Yes.
Bernard Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 336, Lakes to Locks Passage Community Support.
Whereas Lakes to Locks Passage was created through a grassroots planning process resulting in New York State byway designation in 2002, and whereas Lakes to Locks Passage applied for and received designation by the Federal Highway Administration as an All-American Road in 2002, and whereas Lakes to Locks Passage Incorporated is a 501c3 not-for-profit corporation with a mission to further the appreciation, recognition, stewardship, and revitalization of the natural, cultural, and recreational and historical assets of the communities along the interconnected waterway of the Upper Hudson River, Champlain Canal, Lake George, Lake Champlain, Champlain Canal, and Richelieu River. And whereas Lakes to Lock Passage consists of 4 subregions: Champlain Canal, Lake George, Lake Champlain, Richelieu Valley, to recognize a geographical sense of place in the grassroots planning process to develop the policy program and product of the organization. And whereas the vision of Lakes to Locks Passage Incorporated is a public, private, and non-for-profit organizations working together to balance the scenic, historic, natural, cultural, recreational, and working landscape resources in harmony with community revitalization. And whereas Lakes to Locks Passage strives to unify the region's historic, cultural, natural, and recreational resources to establish a world-class destination for national and international travelers. Whereas Lakes to Locks Passage promotes the byway as a great place to live, establish a business, invest public resources, and visit to national and international markets. And whereas Lakes to Locks Passage Incorporated has established a working relationship with communities in Richelieu Valley of Quebec through a 2005 Memorandum of Understanding with the CRE Montreuil S in Quebec to implement cross-border tourism promotion. And whereas Lakes to Locks Passage has brought the byway communities opportunities for funding, community revitalization, and quality of life improvements through the Federal Highway Administration's National Scenic Byway Program and Transportation Enhancements Program, as well as numerous other public and private funding sources. Whereas further implementation of the initiatives of Lakes to Locks Passage requires ongoing support and commitment at the grassroots level, now therefore be resolved that the town of Plattsburgh recognizes that the Lakes to Locks Passage Incorporated has come into existence with the purpose and ability to plan and carry out projects and programs to benefit the communities of Lake Champlain, Lake George, and the Champlain Canal regions. Be it further resolved that the town of Plattsburgh will benefit as a supporter of Lakes to Locks Passage and as Lakes to Locks Passage Waypoint community. Will participate in the planning, implementation, and promotion of Lakes to Locks Passage initiatives to the furthest extent possible, and it is further resolved that a copy of this resolution be given to the historian and finance manager.
A motion.
So moved.
Mr. Wood, second.
Second.
Mr. Lemoyne, nice job on that very lengthy dissertation. You did a good job.
Thank you.
Any discussion? This is simply a resolution supporting the Lakes to Locks program. This is a program that we also received some funding through. Our historian wrote a grant for the signage that's at Halsey's Court. There's not a lot of funding for the organization, but they're doing a job and having an impact. Canadian National Geographic got involved, and they've been working with them, and you know, it's got to make some difference in the tourism activity beyond Canadians that are coming into the area. It made me nervous when I saw that a copy be given to our finance manager, but as you'll see, there is no request for any finances. Our historian and his volunteer deputies participate in the meetings and certainly support the initiatives that you know, other municipalities up and down the corridor do as well. There is a website. It's part of the Go Adirondack move, so it's just a matter of our formal acknowledgement and support of the program. The next resolution will help see why. Anyone have any questions or concerns with that? A roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Martin Mannix.
Yes.
Paul Lemoyne.
Yes.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
Bernard Bassett.
Yes, the resolution carries. Resolution 337, Town of Plattsburgh and Lakes to Locks Passage, Inc. MOU for kiosk.
Whereas the town of Plattsburgh's historian and Lakes to Locks executive director Janet Kennedy have been working together to promote our community, and whereas Lakes to Locks Passage Incorporated, LTLP, a 501c3 nonprofit management organization for the New York State Scenic Byway known as Lakes to Locks Passage, has received a grant from New York State Department of Transportation to develop a two-panel waypoint community kiosk along the byway. And whereas the town of Plattsburgh is a Lakes to Locks Passage waypoint community and desires to sponsor a byway kiosk, and therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Plattsburgh hereby authorize the supervisor to enter into a contract with Lakes to Locks Passage Incorporated for the purpose of installing a kiosk program which will serve residents and visitors as stated in the attached agreement, which represents the town's share for 2013, and be it further resolved that the sum shall be charged to the Community Services Fund account for the budget for the 2013 budget, and be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be given to LLP Director, Town Historian, and the Finance Manager.
A motion.
So moved.
Mr. Mannix, second.
Second.
Mr. Renadette, any discussion? I believe Deborah put in a copy of what one of the two-panel boards would look like. You might have recently also heard in the news a kiosk that's going to be going in the city. Strategic Tourism has been very involved with that. Downtown Merchants as well. As you'll see in many communities, so you get the pedestrian traffic, take a look what's going on. There are a lot of electronic boards out there as well that can be reprogrammed, a lot of you know, current activities for the visitor to be aware of. As the Champlain Valley at large, the greater Plattsburgh area continues to grow and mature and you know, the pending reopening of the Strand Theater, which will just be, I think, absolutely a phenomenal success. Those will be some of the kinds of announcements we'll want to have on here. And the more we can get you know, travelers to come in and spend a couple of days and spend some time in the hotels and the restaurants and in our stores, it's a win situation that helps the economy, et cetera, you know the story. This is something we've come across, our contribution. I'm skimming the resolution.
It's not in the resolution.
It's not in there, it should have been. Just for the record, I'll note, the town's 20% match is $600. And we will only do a 2-panel. I know there's some notation that for more money we need more. We don't need it, not at this point. So that's what that's about. The historian, Jerry, has done the grunt work on this one also, and I think it would be a good addition to the community. We do have this community fund for these kinds of expenditures.
I did ask Jerry for some detail on the size of the panels, and they're going to be large panels. I mean, the units themselves will sit up more than 6 feet into the air. The panel itself will be just over 4 feet, and then they will be about 2.5 feet out of the ground. And the value of the panels would be approximately $3,000. So I think it's important for people to understand what we're getting for our contribution.
Okay, anything else? Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Martin Mannix.
Yes.
Paul Lemoy.
Yes.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
Bernard Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 238. Excuse me, should be 338. That didn't sound. Let's change that to 338. Appointment of William Rowden to the Assessment Board of Review.
Whereas a vacancy exists for a member on the Assessment Board of Review, and whereas Mr. William Rowden, a resident of the town of Plattsburgh, is willing to serve as a member of the Assessment Board of Review, therefore be it resolved that the town board does hereby appoint Mr. Rowden to the Assessment Board of Review for a term to expire September 30th, 2016, and be it further resolved that Mr. Rowden take an oath of office within 30 days of this resolution, and be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be given to board chairperson and town assessor.
You have a motion. Mr. Wood, second. Mr. Lemoy, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Martin Mannix.
Yes.
Paul Lemoy.
Yes.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
Bernard Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. I will also get a letter out to Mr. Rowden, thanking him for his willingness to serve on that board.
And could I suggest we also do a letter to Mr. Luck, thanking him for his prior term of service?
Yes. Thank you. That one got missed. If no one has any other business for the evening, I would seek a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second. Mr. Lemoy, any discussion on that? We'll get a roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Martin Mannix.
Yes.
Paul Lemoy.
Yes.
Gerard Renadette. Bernard Bassett.
Yes, we will stand adjourned at 7:13 p.m.